Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America. The land of opportunity. Fueled by immigration and innovation, with just a touch of authoritarian despotism. Here in these glorious United States, there exists a vast criminal underworld stretching from sea to shining sea, and if you look closely at our utopian American settlements, you may just find the stain of criminal activity in more places than you ever thought possible. Tonight, on Grand Theft Auto Geographies. Commerce, protests, and betrayals. Tonight we examine a district of Liberty City teeming with dirty deals and criminal history. A place that one may not immediately associate with crime and calamity, but whose place in the stories of many infamous Liberty City criminals is crucial. We will take a look at a district directly and indirectly tied to crime through the many liars, killers, and drug pushers who used its otherwise unassuming location to make deals and break legs. A district whose purpose and importance to the city it belonged to was matched only by the number of crimes committed within it. Portland Harbor. In terms of character, there isn't a ton to say about Portland's harbor district. As with any modern urban harbor, its design is fairly standardized, and features the expected assortment of warehouses, loading docks, shipping cranes and containers, as well as several large ships present at nearly all times, offloading or exporting goods from the city's main industries. Being close to Portland's industrial district in Trenton, it is a key area to the city's economy, both above and below board. Like many parts of Liberty City during the late 90s, the district in its current form is also relatively new, with renovations to existing warehouses taking place as late as 1998. It is dark, often foggy, due to the water nearby, and very open, with only one real road in the district which runs alongside the harbor's primary entrance. It borders Portland View and Trenton to the west, and small parts of Portland Beach and Atlantic Keys to the north and south, respectively. Similar to the Harwood district on the north side of Portland Island, the unassuming Portland docks have been home to many crimes over the decades, most likely due to its place as an otherwise unlikely place for such activity in the minds of average Flashback FM listening LC residents. In the late 1990s, the area was controlled partially by the Leone crime family, who moved drugs into the city from the ships arriving in the harbor. In 1998, Salvatore Leone would personally help organize strikes in the city, as he'd often done before, to help offload large quantities of drugs to sell on Leone turf. However, when the new union boss at the time, Jane Hopper, begins preventing the flow of merchandise, attempting to shake down the Leones, Salvatore would be forced to send his soon-to-be right-hand man, Tony Cipriani, to deal with the fiasco. Though Cipriani would try, unsuccessfully, to negotiate with Hopper, and later even try to disrupt the strikes using sex workers to lure the picketers away from their line, Hopper wouldn't budge. She would even continue to push Salvatore after Tony threatened the other union bosses working with her, and only finally capitulated when Tony personally took her on a joyride across much of Harwood to force her to end the strikes. That same year, the Leones would attempt another drug-related transaction at the harbor when Tony Cipriani attended a meeting with the Colombian cartel, serving as Leone liaison. The meet would be ambushed by government agents, and Tony would kill everyone involved, except for the future cartel second-in-command, Miguel, who barely survives the encounter. In 2000, the district would see another firefight when presumed Leone associate Mike began working with Red Light District bartender Johnny, and the two were ambushed by a group of thugs. Mike would, similar to Tony, kill all of the attackers, with only he and Johnny escaping the bloodshed. Just 1 year later, the area would see another murder when the Reaper man, Claude, killed a man for Leone associate Luigi Gottarelli, and then stole his car for compensation to the wise guy. He would also deliver stolen Securicars to a warehouse at the harbor that was presumably also owned by the Leones, though how often this occurred is unknown. Claude would also further add to the district's violent history when he discovered a meeting between the Colombian cartel and the Sex Club 7 bartender Curly Bob, revealing Leone's secrets to the cartel in exchange for drugs. After confirming Bob's betrayal, Claude would run him down for Salvatore Leone before planning the district's most infamous event. A ship docked at the harbor was being used as the main manufacturing center for the cartel's new drug Spank, and with help from his friend and associate 8-Ball, they would infiltrate the ship, plant explosives aboard, and destroy the vessel in a massive explosion heard all around Portland. The harbor was also the site of an oil spill around 2001, which caused the waters surrounding Liberty City to become so polluted that even swimming in it could be fatal. From an article in the Liberty Tree dated April 1st, 2001, quote, "A government body said the recent oil spill in Liberty City Harbor would cause no lasting damage to Liberty City inhabitants as long as they don't swim or drink tap water. The oil spill, which environmental agencies claim is a direct result of the deregulation of the Liberty City Harbor Authority and the closing of the pilot's office, has led to a black film enveloping the harbor and occasional flash fires on the surface. The government official noted, 'These flash fires are harmless unless you get burnt, and are very reminiscent of the Irish phenomenon of the will-o'-the-wisp. It is a great treat for all Liberty's inhabitants to see such an ancient tradition being played out in our harbor. The oil spill will pose no immediate threat to humans unless they like swimming in oil, while any animal stupid enough to live in that harbor got what it deserved. This spill is nowhere near as serious as the pollution leak of 1988, so I don't know why people are complaining.'" Unlike the districts we have looked at so far, there are no businesses in the Portland Harbor so much as there are places where business is conducted. Some of the noteworthy locations or places of interest in the district are a tanker ship used by the Colombian cartel to manufacture spank, a warehouse involved in the theft and possible chopping of several secure car vans, and an illegal import-export garage. Okay, so usual shtick. Drop in character to examine the real-world inspiration for Portland Harbor, which if you've been paying attention should come as no shock to you. Portland Harbor is, according to the GTA Wiki and anybody who follows Rockstar's geometry logic, based on the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And while I'd like to say that it is obvious, in reality the uniformity of many harbors of a similar size in similar cities means it is probably inspired by the general American harbor aesthetic, with heavy influence from Brooklyn's own Navy Yard. The comparison is most obvious when examining the infrastructure of both, with the many shipping containers, cranes, and ports for vessels of all sizes. Unlike Portland Harbor, however, the real world is, some of you may not know, not actually restricted by early 2000s graphical limitations, and as such is much more active and less likely to contain ships docked for an indefinite period of time. And so ends another edition of GTA Geographies. Next week, we will wrap up Portland by taking a look at the remaining smaller districts which we have not yet covered, before we finally move on to Staunton Island. Stay tuned and don't forget to tune into GTA Biographies on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, liking the video, and hitting the bell icon so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next time. I'm Guiness Walker. Thank you for watching.